Greetings, Dapplings, and welcome to a new series for the channel where I am so happy to be able to showcase Humankind, a new turn-based strategy 4X of the historical variety. Now, before we get down to business, let me first address the rather large Sid Meier-shaped elephant in the room. There is a lot of room to make comparisons between this and Civilization, and indeed any game that kind of sits in the historical strategy genre. I've even seen some people going as far as to say that this is a Civilization killer. Now, that is quite a bold statement to make, very bold indeed. While I certainly feel that this has added some polish to some tried and tested features within the genre, and indeed breathed some new life into it, whether or not it is a Civilization killer, I think largely comes down to personal preference, to be honest. Is this better than Civilization? I think that will be answered differently by every single person who's asked the question. Where do you sit on that kind of answer spectrum? If you like, do let me know down in the comments, actually, if you've already played it. Where do you feel that this sits? But for myself, I'm just happy to have a new game to enjoy that touches on some of the features which I'm most fond of within the genre, but also adds a few new mechanics. And new mechanics, wow, does this game add quite a few. Including, but not limited to, the fact that you can actually play against your friends without them being there via the profiles. Now, you've got to hook up to Games Together beta, which is maintained by Amplitude, I believe, the developers of the game. But you can create your own avatar, you can customize its appearance, so on and so forth, but then you can also customize the AI persona with certain abilities and strengths and biases that you unlock through your own gameplay by achieving certain milestones, or by playing in a certain way in your own games. You'll unlock the options to activate these for your AI persona, and then people can go on to play against your AI self in their own games, and maybe they will win, maybe they won't. It depends on how many overpowered abilities you've actually managed to unlock through your playing. I have played through the tutorial once and have managed to unlock a few things, but not nearly as many as exist. As you can see over here, there's still quite a lot that is locked down in terms of the behavior of the AI. But I will, for those who are interested, include a link in the video description down below so that you can add my digital self to your games, and I look forward to stories of my victory or indeed defeat at your hands. Do feel free to let me know how it goes. But with that all said and done, let's go ahead and jump into a new game. Now then, the first and possibly most important decision that you're going to make when setting up a new game is who you're going to be playing with, and indeed possibly against. And you will no doubt recognize at least a few of the names here, especially Shenra and Cringer. Now, I am going to take a moment to draw special attention to the fact that the AI personas, or indeed all AI, none of them are necessarily born equal. There are fairly big differences between AI. Not only can an individual set the overall behavior of an AI, but they can also set the strengths and biases, and these can come with some pretty hefty strengths and bonuses to the AI when it's playing as an AI. When you're playing with your own avatar, you don't really benefit from any of these, but as an AI, they can offer some pretty wild bonuses. As a result, you will notice the overall level of the AI down here. Expert, for example, for Shenra and indeed Cringer, but for Fitz, it is a bit more modest with advanced, and they scale from normal to expert. I don't believe there's anything beyond expert, but honestly, I haven't had an opportunity to really unlock all of the potential options, so I don't know. Perhaps there is a few even more difficult options. But this is kind of a hidden difficulty in a way. It exists on top of the overall difficulty that you set your game, and is well worth keeping in mind. Now, as for the world, I've gone ahead and I've made a couple of selections for us, but there are a lot of options here, so we're not going to dive too deeply into these. If you do have any questions about the options that are available, or why I've chosen X over Y, then do please feel free to post a comment. Next, you've got pace, and as with many games of this ilk, you can run the game faster and have fewer turns before a winner is declared, or you can have significantly more turns before the winner is declared. You can set the type of end conditions, though, from everything to just getting to space, literally just the amount of turns, so on and so forth. But in every scenario, there is one additional reason why the game might end, and that is if anyone manages to render the world unfit for human life. And as far as reasons to wrap up the game go, that's a pretty solid one. I don't think anyone could really argue against that. At that point, the winner is declared. Generally, from what I understand, it is literally who has got the most fame. And I like that, because that does open the way for someone who isn't a power player in the end stages of the game. Perhaps their civilization rose to great prominence and then kind of just deflated like a flan in a cupboard, but had achieved such famous acts when it was a big player on the world stage that it still coasts to a win, or maybe even just places in the top 3. It's an interesting way of defining the winner, and I quite like it. As for the difficulty, I've popped it onto Nation, largely because I don't know what playing against Shen and Cringer is going to be like, so we'll hopefully not to be crushed immediately, but there is still room for making the game easier and for making the game harder if you want, as well as just generally tweaking the temperament of the AI. Then maps and content, these are, well, not really applicable to our game, but they're options that may come into light at a later time. But finally, it is time for us to jump into the game. I hope you are as excited as I am.
Our universe contains infinite stories, most of which are about rocks and ice at sub-zero temperatures in a vacuum. Rather boring. However, on a small damp rock, there is a story that bears a second look. It's your story. But the first 4 billion years or so mostly concern amino acids. Not much of a page turner. But then, over time, the amino acids bond together, and things start to get interesting. And a bit drier.
Only a bit drier, though.
A certain subspecies of hominid discovers that you can do more with a sharp rock than annoy your little brother. Tools and weapons are invented. The hominids begin to cooperate. Fire becomes a servant rather than an unpredictable force of nature. They learn to tan the skins of animals for clothing. They learn ways to record and probably exaggerate their adventures. Eventually, these tribes learn to build shelters and immediately hold the first barbecue parties. This is the dawn of humankind. Struggle and cooperation have been rewarded. The Neolithic era draws to a close. The whole world beckons. This tribe has come far, but the rest of their story is your story. You are the one who will build them into a great civilization. How far will you push humankind?
A good question, and one I hope
begins.
to answer.
A new world, a new history, untold possibilities. There is so much to see, to do, to learn, or, depending on one's preferences, to destroy.
Well, I suppose yes. Okay, right, well, we are in the game. Proper now. If we zoom out, we've got a world map that we can see. The world does wrap, so if we go far enough in one direction, we should end up back at ourselves. There's a decent amount of room there, actually. Okay, fair enough. Right, we've got certain items around. Now, this is a strategic resource. I like the fact that the game does let us know where the resources are ahead of us actually ever interacting with them. Even if we don't know what the resource is, we're not likely to mess things up by building something over the top. We've got some porcelain over here. Ceramics created by firing clay. Mineral porcelain is a special type of pottery valued for its decorative features. This is a luxury resource that will become more important later on. The world is split up into like territories. If you're familiar with Planetfall or End of the Endless games, you'll probably be familiar in general with the notion of territories and controlling them. It's not just the cells that we build on. The world is split up into zones that we can control. And we start off with a tribe. Disorganized, but still effective with their simple weapons in hand-to-hand combat. Plus 20 health regeneration from tribe unit, that is everywhere. Nomad, special unit that gathers food through fighting and ransacking in order to multiply. As we gain food, our tribe will gain in number, and we will add more groups into this one unit stack. I love being able to stack units because it actually does allow for much more realistic movement of large populations and armies across a general landmass. We haven't met any of our enemies yet, or well, friends yet, mostly. Frenemies, let's go with that, because we really don't know how that's going to play out. Hopefully it'll play out in an amicable way and they'll just accept our rule. But if they don't, well, things might have to get a little bit spicy. We've got various stars that we can accrue. The Neolithic era, and indeed all eras, are... The progress through them is predicated on your accumulation of stars, of certain disciplines. The Neolithic era is unique amongst all of the eras in that you only need 3 to progress to the next level, the next era, whereas all the others will require 7. But that is enough chatting. We have many things to do. Namely, we want to have a look around the world and try our best to find some food. Now, I want to try and make the most use out of our movement, so let's head up here. We can scale these cliffs, as you notice, but it will take us more turns in order to do that. So we kind of want to avoid that if we can. We've got one more turn. Let's go ahead and grab this.
Security and pleasure. Wonderful stuff, this simple food.
I agree. That has given us halfway towards having a new person. Marvellous. But that is the end of our first turn. So let's go ahead and play that through. Now, let's keep our eye out for some more food. We're going to be moving into a river, and different locales will have different movement costs. We very much want that. Is there anything else easier to reach around here? No, not really. Okay, well, that used up our entire movement, unfortunately, because we were crossing a river, but oh well. But having the elevation gave us better sight over the surrounding areas. We got a little bit more food over here. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to jump in the river again, but that's fine, I suppose, this once. Let's go ahead, pop into this river tile, and pump. There we go, a little bit more food besides. That was actually quite good. That was 15. So, now, one of the things we can do at this point, we have a new group of tribespeople. We don't need them to stay in the same party, and in fact, I feel that it would be wise for us not to do that. Let's spread out. Now, this one isn't food over here. This is something else entirely.
Just because a culture died out doesn't mean it wasn't worthy of study.
Curiosity collected. You found a curiosity. Ancient encampment providing +3 science and +5 well, I guess influence, if you like. Your current influence, it can be spent on merging cities, claiming cultural wonders, and expanding your empire by placing or attaching outposts. We've got a stock, we've also got an income. What we just picked up with it was an instant increase. It doesn't give us per turn, and eventually that is going to start mattering, because there'll be plenty of ways that we can get instant additions. Now, both of these tribes are starting to accrue more people, but it is tracked independently of one another. Okay, we've got another curiosity down there as well. Okay, that one should have a decent chance of getting some extra curiosity towards our knowledge star. Right, let's make our move. Ooh, okay, we've got a mammoth over there. I mean, hunting right now is definitely an option for us, but a mammoth may be a bit of a mammoth task. Oh, don't worry, I hurt myself doing that, so you don't have to feel too bad. Right, let's go down and grab that curiosity. Going down shouldn't be as difficult as going up, I should hope. But for the time being, I think we're going to ignore the mammoth for now. There's no real reason for us to pick that fight just yet. There's some lovely places around here. This is a very interesting area. Lots of nice rivers. That is going to be great for food later on. You'll notice that I have the overlay for the materials that we can select. Right now, it's not going to matter to us until we've got a city, so I haven't really touched on it too much. But given the diversity of the landscape we're seeing, I guess I'll quickly cover it. Obviously, this is food, and how much food we can gather from that terrain once we've actually set up there. Some places, like rivers and like flood basins and stuff like that, are going to have much better food options, but also forests will have industry potential. Some areas such as steep mountains, so on and so forth. We've got gold here because of the natural resource, and there are a lot of buildings once we get to building cities that will require specific terrain features for them to operate. And that is definitely something to keep in mind. Oh, there we are, right next to us. Okay, we'll grab that on next turn. Can you still move at all, or have we used up your turns? No, we have used them up. All right. Right, well, there we go. World Deed locked. Wonderful Lake Hylia has been locked by another empire. Now, this is actually quite an important one. Basically, there are competitive deeds in each era, and indeed across the whole game. The first one to get it, that's it. They generate fame. Fame is the be-all, end-all currency in this game. It's ultimately what we need to accrue the most of in order to win. And also, conversely, what we need to block other people from accruing, because it isn't just get more than someone else. You can totally approach this this problem from the other side of the equation of just limiting how much other people can accrue, or doing both at the same time for maximum efficiency. But someone else has managed to find Lake Hylia. It's basically a natural wonder, if you want a comparison to civilization, and by being the first to discover it, you just get a natural bit of fame there. This, by the way, is the overall star screen for the eras, and as we move through, we'll get different deeds. Right now, they're very simplistic because we're a Neolithic tribe. There we go. I'm going to use up all of my moves just to pick that up. But that was actually pretty good because that's given us another tribe member. You found a curiosity. Freshwater harvest, providing 15 food for the hunting party. Marvellous. Right, World Deed locked. We can just click on that one just to acknowledge it so it isn't showing up. You can actually shrink that down if you don't really care. Later on in the game, it can get a little bit spammy, I've found. But for now, it's actually quite good for us to have open. Right, as for you... you don't have any further... Oh, no, you do have some further turns. Great. Let's do a little bit more exploration. We've got a sanctuary down here. A rich, diverse habitat with plenty to sack. This is a breeding ground for peaceful wildlife who range the surrounding area. I'm not sure if taking these out early on is a good move or not. It might be that by leaving this there, more wildlife will spawn that we can actually hunt directly. In which case, there might be a strategy in not sacking those. But we can totally sack it if we want to get some initial points. Right, let's make our way downwards and grab this curiosity there. There we go. Another science and some more influence. Very nice indeed. We need to get to 10 to get the knowledge star. We've got to get another 2 growth stars, so we need to grow our population by another 2 to finish that one. And finally, the Hunter Star. Hunt a total of 5 units. Current number of units is 0. Era Stars unlocked. With this, would turn into 40. Fame, that's the same of all of them. Right now, everything more or less adds to that. But we've got a little bit of something there. Display more information about the event located here. Oh, a world aflame. In the distance, a thin cord of smoke cuts up into the clear blue skies. Fire. Calling a few tribesmen, you run closer, the smell of cindered bark and burning pine growing stronger with each footfall. You spy dancing flames and suddenly find yourselves on the edge of a settlement on fire. Many of the structures are ablaze, but even with the smoke and flames, you can see these abodes were marvels of craftsmanship. You're about to direct your men to put out the fire with loose soil when you see short, shadowed figures running away. Youths. They could become part of your tribe if you give chase now, but that would mean losing these secrets of construction. What is your choice? Okay, we can chase. Raw numbers will help us more than building techniques at this time. A new army, refugees, next to the hunting party, or extinguish. Understanding how to build stronger settlements will be vital in the future. Minus 25% on city defense research cost. That's quite far in the future. But might be okay. No, I'm going to go for the refugees, I think. People right now are going to allow me to cover more land, and that will indeed help us quite a lot. So we've got a new tribe again. That's actually pretty good, I'm going to be honest with you. Very happy with that. It's going to allow us to cover quite some ground. World deed accomplished. You've achieved the following deed. Be the first to discover Halong Bay. Okay. Very nice indeed. Let's zoom in. I guess there. Fantastic. Okay, that's given us a bunch of science there. Okay, but it didn't really increase the knowledge star. I guess that's specifically for finding curiosities. I'm not sure how that one works out. That says I've gained
named
a
for
bunch,
descending dragons, though I fear that one day it will be tourists that descend on the place.
You seem to have a skill for prescience that borders on witchcraft. I would be a little bit worried about speaking about these things in mixed company, my man. Culture chosen. The nomadic tribe reached the ancient era with the Harappans. Now that one's an important one to note. Someone has managed to level up their culture before we did. That's a shame because it is first come, first serve. I'll cover one of the big key features of the game and progressing between eras when we get the chance, but understand we're already now on the back foot. That is a bit of a pain, I'm not going to lie. Right, let's grab you. Ancient equipment, curiosity collected. You found a curiosity. Ancient equipment, providing 3 science and... oh, wow, that actually gave us a lot. And 5 influence. Let's carry on. Let's expand out a little bit, see if we can't find a little bit more. Okay, got a layer. Now, this one has got a little lightning bolt symbol versus the little peace symbol over there. This means this is a wild beast layer, so we might want to be a little bit more careful about this one. The dark and fetid dwellings of dangerous, aggressive wildlife. Care should be taken both in its environs and when sacking its riches. Very well, very well. Okay, well, since you're going up that way... oh, no. Turn around. I have espied food. Okay, 10 food. Nice. We only need 5 before we can finish off getting the growth star now. We're getting close to these stars, so we're actually seeing a progress report there on the left, which I'm pretty happy for. Though we did, unfortunately, waste a turn doing that. Oh, well. I'm not sure if there is a way to instantly prevent further movement. Now, we can take you on, and you know what? Sure, let's demonstrate what fighting is like. Okay, so, hunt at Wasat. Eliminate all enemies. Your side is stronger overall. We can go for instant resolution. Generally, if you are the stronger side, you will win with an instant resolution, as far as I've seen. But we're going to do manual battle just to show it out. Now, battles actually take place in turns. Particularly big battles can take several turns to resolve. But you have several rounds within a battle per turn. And that's important to remember. Now, right here, this is our camp. If I move the tribe... over here. Oh, well, actually, the tribe itself is the camp. Okay. Later on, we will have, in battles, typically a location that we're trying to defend. Or perhaps it's only in battles where we are the defender and someone else is aggressing us. But there are 2 ways you can win a battle. Kill all of the enemies, or take control of the kind of the flag, if you will, at the end, be in control of it at the end of the turn. Not at the end of the round, but the end of the turn. There's about 3 rounds in a fight. Units are waiting for your deployment. We only have these units, but it is quite possible to end up with multiple units, or bring units into the battle if the battle runs over several turns. So bear that in mind. You can end up fighting a lot more than you bargained for if there are people nearby your opponent. But we can just deploy here, though generally speaking, actually, I will deploy up here because you get a significant advantage in combat for being on the high ground. Obi-Wan has taught us well. Right, okay, so from here we'll gain +4 combat strength from high ground, -3, however, from crossing a river. The same is true of the deer down there, and it has got 8 combat strength, so it's down to 5, and we're up to 11, which is better than we had before. A hostile deer unit slows unit movement and restricts vision, but provides... oh, this is the forest. Provides defensive bonus against missile fire. Heavily restricts unit. The river heavily restricts unit movement and applies a heavy combat strength penalty. Well, that's fine. Well, there's not going to be much to this fight. These are the predicted numbers just above the heads of what we're likely to see. Maximum, we could lose 25 health. Minimum, -5. The deer at minimum will lose 30, and at maximum could lose 42. Right, let's get in there. There we are. They lost 32, and we lost 21, actually, so that didn't go so great for us. Now it's the deer's turn, because we've got no more units. But it is having to attack uphill. We lost 21, it lost 32, and it's now in a different location. We are going to go ahead and attack. Once again, there's no more rounds to go. and we win the battle. But at a reasonable cost to the health of our unit, to be fair. We lost 48% health there, but we did manage to get some food, and the enemy lost everything, quite obviously. But there we go. Right, now we might want to take care. Can we heal? No, we can't heal because we don't have territory of our own. We can't heal in it. So this unit is now a little bit more in risk of... is a little bit more at risk of being attacked by an aggressive unit. We could sack this sanctuary, however, and that might give us a decent bit of food. Let's go ahead. Confirm to ransack. It'll highlight the tiles that we can possibly ransack. I believe the... if we could still see, if we still had sight on the sanctuary over here. Oh no, it doesn't actually show up there. Well, we're quite far away, but generally speaking, if you select any option, it will highlight what you can do in those options. We can totally claim a territory and actually start working those territories, but right now, just looking to try and scout the areas as quickly as we can. It's going to take us a whole turn to ransack this area, but that should be fine. Ransack successful. There we go. You have successfully plundered. Acknowledge. And we've got the growth star earned. Marvellous. So with the one growth star, that has given us a bit of a boost there. We need another 2. Or it may actually be just 2 out of the 3, but I can't recall exactly. In Stars 1, you have to reach one of these goals to enter a new era. Oh, so could we enter the era now? It may be the case that we can. Yes, we can enter the era. However, if you feel confident that you're right on the cusp of unlocking one of the other stars, it may be worth you hanging tight, because every star gives you more fame, and the objective here is to gain fame. So I'm going to have a quick scout with my remaining units to see if I can spot any curiosities that I might be able to quickly collect. Let's get up onto the high ground so we've got some better visual. There we've got a little bit of food. That's fine, I suppose, but not really what I was looking for. Okay. Some horses over there, though. That's very good to see. How about you? Let's swing up here, just open up what's on this side of the territory, just follow the coastline a little bit more. But it looks like this is probably going to be just a coast going all the way around. Okay, do we have anyone else that has some movement points? You do have a little bit left. Let's just get up there. Oh, there we go. You've earned 1 era star. You may now choose a new culture for the next era. Evolve your civilization with a culture for the next era. Remind me later. Choose now. You can click on Remind Me Later, and it's perfectly fine. You can do it whenever you want. You just have to click up here. But, oh, we got 20 food from that as well. We actually ended up with another tribesperson that we can move out into the world. We've actually done a fairly good job of gathering food. Is that likely to be enough food to give you an extra person? I think it's unlikely. It's probably going to be 10 rather than 15. So I'm going to go ahead and move up the era. I believe our tribespeople are going to lose the ability to gather more people just from getting food once we move into the next era. So there is another reason why you might want to hold off if you were fairly certain you could enter the next era with a larger population. But I think we're in a good enough position. Right, now we're to the meat and bones of things. You can notice that someone has already claimed the Harappans. We have got this Zhao. I know I'm going to mispronounce the vast majority of these names. I do apologize. If you would like to correct me, however, then feel free down in the comments. The Phoenicians, the Olmecs, the Nubians, the Mycenaeans, the Hittites, the Egyptians, the Babylonians, and the Assyrians. Now, I've just sped through them, but there's a lot to unpack with this, and I'm not going to go over all of it, but understand that every single one of them has strengths and weaknesses, and they are unique. The first one that you can see at a glance is the type of civilization it is. So the Assyrians are more oriented towards expansion, whereas the Babylonians more oriented towards science. The Egyptians more oriented towards building. The Hittites are more oriented towards military matters. We've got the Nubians, who are more oriented towards trade. Olmecs, who are aesthete. This is more focused on gathering influence. Do we have any farms? It was the one locked out civilization. They have a focus on agrarian, so growing population. Now, each one And this is an important one. Depending on your playstyle, you may want to focus on one over the other, even if there are other options available that have stronger direct results, because you will generate more fame from completing tasks associated with your culture's focus. So, for example, the Egyptians will gain more fame from building related stars, and that can really add up very, very quickly. Now, for the bigger breakdown, each culture has an emblematic type of building and an emblematic type of unit. Having this culture doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be able to build it. It might still be locked behind certain technologies or strategic resources, but it will be available, and it has certain unique qualities over the other units that will be in play at that time. And as you can already see, you will lock this down, so no one else can ever have that unit or emblematic building. For example, for the Babylonians, the astronomy house. Furthermore, they will have a legacy trait. This will matter more further on in the game than immediately. Over time, you will build these up, because every time you move to a new era, you will have the option of selecting a new culture, though you can stick with the one that you've got. But each culture will come with a legacy trait, and these carry over from culture to culture to culture, from era to era. Nothing else does. So moving through the various cultures, you'll lose access to the emblematic units and the emblematic buildings, but you keep the legacy bonus. So in some ways, it might actually be better to look around for the culture that is going to give you the strongest legacy bonus that you feel is going to work into your playstyle. Now, with that said, I'm not going to pour over each and every option. I just wanted to cover some of the options that are available. So if you'll excuse me for just a moment while I pick who we're going to be playing with. Okay, I think I have decided to go for the Egyptians. It came down to the Nubians and the Egyptians, and ultimately the choice was made mostly by the legacy trait. Given that the Nubians, I don't feel we're going to have too many luxury or strategic resources, certainly not nearly as many as we will have tiles that produce industry, and given that the Egyptians will make every tile that produces industry that little bit better at producing industry, I feel it is a strong option. Though I will say that I actually fancy the Nubians, the Meroe pyramids more than the Egyptian pyramids for its bonuses, but I think ultimately it is the legacy that is going to drive this one for us. The unique unit will take it's going to be a little while before we can possibly build these, but still it is a decent unit, has a lot of movement, and is a ranged unit as well, though it will suffer from fighting against any close combat units, sadly, but we will see what we can do. And every time you get a new... Wow, we've got very, very bloodshot eyes there. But every time you get a new culture, you will update your look. And if you have any buildings, the buildings themselves will also update. But let's go ahead and lock in the Egyptians.
The challenges of a young civilization. It's hard keeping up with the neighbors when they have the wheel and you don't. Humankind learns quickly that everyone contributes. If you're terrified of wild animals, you can grow lentils or catch fish. Tribes settle towns. Towns develop markets, and markets begin the exchange of goods, services, and most important, rumors and hearsay.
Very well.
Entering this era as the Egyptians, then? No prizes for guessing how you plan to leave your mark.
Oh, come on, that was a cheap shot. I mean, fair. I'm going to put pyramids everywhere, but still, no reason to call me out, man. All right, so that has not changed a lot on the map for us, simply because we don't have any buildings. That being said, we have got a couple of places that we can already choose to settle. This one seems like a good one because it's got both marble and some porcelain, but what we don't have in this territory is very much food, and that will be a problem for growing our city. Over here we've got a little bit of industry potential. Actually, we've got a bit over here on the stony fields, and we've got quite a lot of food potential, as well as a nice bit of coast there's over there. We've got some horses over here, as well as some science potential. We could possibly scout this area out a little bit more, because we've got some really nice prairie and some decent forests for industry. And these ones down here, the forests, the river and the mountains would possibly allow us a decent amount of income on both sides. Over here, it's primarily industry, very little food in here. This territory, though, has some very nice options for growing the city's population nice and quickly. That actually looks like a really nice one. In fact, we've got a few areas. It seems that these are saying that these would be decent places to settle. Over here, for example, or maybe I'm not really sure. I guess the easiest way to find out is to select you. Are you going to tell me? Oh no, you're not telling me to go there. But the game is trying to suggest some decent spots. For example, over here, if we settle here, we'd get 11 food and 10 industry. I wonder if it'll tell me the possibilities of settling an outpost elsewhere. No, it doesn't really. But that's fine for now. Okay, let's start doing a little bit more exploration, just so that we can be sure that we've got the best choices available to us. It looks like that might actually be the end of that coast. Okay, so we could settle there and control the northern reaches of this this continent. This definitely feels more like a continent than an island at this point. If it is an island, it is a very big island. There we go. We'll also grab you. I would like you to move away from that bear for the time being. That being said, well, actually, you're a scout. You can't gain veterancy. Oh, you might be able to gain veterancy. I'm not entirely certain on that, but it doesn't seem to give me any information for potential veterancy benefits, so I'm going to assume that that means you can't gain it. But either way, let's continue exploring, though. This might be a bit of a dead end there. But I'm starting to think that somewhere either in the middle here or just settling a spot over here would be probably one of the better options. We do have a decent bit of industry. Now, you do want to bear in mind that when you settle, you are placing... Oh, actually, let's move down there a little bit, because right now we can't see too much. But you are placing down a little town that will be able to extract resources around it, but the extraction range grows over time as you build new districts. Let's go up a little bit. Now, if we wanted to settle something over here, I'm thinking here is probably one of the better options, though we've got some even better ones over there. Oh, wow, that one's a very nice one. But we are going to be claiming all of these areas with time. You don't need to worry over much about where you're settling initially. We are going to settle and claim all of these territories as we go. There we go. Right. How are these mammoths moving around? Hopefully we don't have to tangle with the mammoths. We don't really want to. This is going to cost a certain amount of influence to set up, I do believe. But these are looking very nice. 8 and 24 or 11 and 23. I think we're going to go with the 11 and 23, frankly. Let's get in there. This will cost us influence to set up, but that is a pretty solid place to look at. Now, this is going to take... actually, it's going to take building... it's going to take industrial resource to set up. Turning it into a city will take influence. But we may as well start getting these on the go right now, if we can. We've got another option down here. As I suspected, we've got some pretty good choices. But I think getting one in here as well is going to work out for us. So let's go ahead and get you settled there. And as for you, we're just going to start moving on downwards. You notice immediately they set up fields around these areas, and that will help with time. These outposts themselves are kind of proto-cities. They don't have the expansive options that a city will provide, but they will grow their own population and so on and so forth, and eventually we can absorb them into cities. So that does take a little bit more time and effort. All right, let's see what there is to see down here. There are still going to be various items around the world, various curiosities that we do want to grab if we're able. Is this just going to be a cliff face all the way up? Looks like it is. We will be able to climb up there, though. I like it that the elevations actually do matter. They don't just have a movement cost. Sometimes they flat out prevent movement. Right, a nomadic tribe has entered the ancient era with the Mycenaeans. Okay, very nice. And as for you, you have finished the construction of Muhun. Now, let's have a look. Oh, actually, no. Muhun is on the way to being constructed. Well, let's continue expanding out as quickly as we can, claim as much of this territory as we're able to. Now, you don't necessarily want to be too spend heavy with setting up these outposts, but it is worthwhile, ultimately. I think, let's see. We can't build any more. Cannot be done without a minimum of 60 influence. Okay, well, that's going to take us a while to get. We are currently now producing 5 per turn, namely because of this within our sphere of influence, and that should be a good start. So let's continue having our scouts expanding out. There we go. Head on down here as well. Now, we haven't explored anything in this direction, so it's going to be worth our while to properly scout it out. As for the mammoths, if we can espy them and take them out, then that is a little bit of extra prestige and money, possibly food for us as well. Though you'll notice our scouts no longer gain health, or rather gain population by gathering food anymore. This is more to feed back to our outposts largely. Right, there's nothing more for us to do down here, so we need to head up into the mountains. So let's wander our way back. And at least by getting a bit of elevation, we'll be able to see more of the terrain as well. Right, one of your outposts can be turned into a city. We can evolve
the
this.
agrarian Harapans. You're as likely to meet their canals and farmers as their soldiers.
Very well, a matter of diplomacy. Word of your empire has reached the Harapans. Let's go and see.
This proposition should be in all our best interests.
Okay, you sound nothing like Shen, but okay. You would like to trade luxuries. We've got a lot of information over here.
Let me hear it.
First and foremost, we're at peace. In terms of their attitude towards us, they're unsure of your intentions and choose to reserve judgment for the time being. Trust is deteriorating, strength is comparable. We can have a look at various things. We can trade. We haven't got any resources to trade with them yet, but I'm okay with trading luxury resources. And as we generate them, as we gain access to the resources, then they may want to purchase a license to those resources.
The agreement.
We seem to be riding a wave of good cheer.
Indeed. I agree. Okay, so we've signed a new treaty with them, and so their trust level is improving. Their borders are close to ours, though. How close is the question? Oh, right. Very close, then. Okay, well, that's good to know. We won't... Well, actually, we will be able to move around their borders. The dotted line, someone can move into it, but if you actually set up a city, then that creates a solid line that is your territory. Otherwise, it's just an outpost, and an outpost is kind of... it's kind of free land. It belongs to you, but you haven't really nailed it down, and so there's no treaties that restrict people moving into it. All right, let's continue on down here, get a good view of these the local lands. We've got another area we can sec. Oh no, sorry, this is a deer. Well, in that case, let's go ahead and get this fight on the go. We'll just go ahead and instantly resolve this one, since we're pretty certain that we're going to win. We lost 7% of our unit strength and 45% of our health, but we gained a bit of gold from the hunting, which is very useful in the long term. We're going to do exactly the same here. Instant resolution. Let's have a quick look. Again, lost a bit of strength, but we lost a lot of health this time, so we're actually going to need to probably retreat and recover our health. Alternatively, we could have the groups merge together, and that, safety in numbers sort of thing. We didn't lose too much health there, so I'm not going to worry too much about that one. But in terms of upgrading into a city, evolve your outpost into a city. Once completed, you will be able to improve its infrastructure, exploit more tiles, expand its borders, and fine-tune its population's production. Evolve your outpost into a city. Your first outpost can evolve for free. Now, which one do we want? I would say this one, because we will have access to pearls and horses within this one city, and I feel that is going to be the stronger start for us. The others will remain as outposts as we expand them. But okay, we're going to go ahead and settle a proper city, and the city of Memphis. Now, I'm not going to name every single outpost, or maybe I will, I don't know. But A city definitely deserves a name. By the way, you can name armies, and once I'm a little bit more certain about the armies that we're creating, we'll start naming them. But Memphis definitely needs a name all its own. And after consulting with Chaotrocles, Manu is the lucky name that has been chosen. Thank you ever so much for your patron support, Manu, and welcome, well, welcome to the world, I suppose. May many people live inside... Okay, I'm starting to see some awkward possibilities with naming cities after people. Nevertheless, we've started, so we'll finish. But here we are. We have got a bunch of options here. Now, public ceremonies... This is just based on amount of resources we can invest, and we'll get some food out of that. Food is how we grow our population. Right now, we will get a new person in our city in 4 turns. The stability is an important stat, and there's a lot of ways that this can be boosted up or dropped. As stability improves, your city will get certain bonuses. Over a certain threshold, it becomes a very good city, and there's a good chance of positive events happening there. As it drops, however, then that certain negative events can start happening, all the way down to open rebellion. Expanding a city by adding districts or territories does decrease its stability, so these actions are only available when a city's stability is sufficiently high. Stability is currently at 80%. It will evolve every turn by 5% until it reaches 100%. Currently, the city is strained at 80%. The city's population is becoming agitated. Positive and negative events are equally likely to occur. This state will remain as long as your city's stability is between 30% and 90%. Above 90%, you will get predominantly positive events, and below 30%, you get predominantly negative ones, including rebellion. What has affected it recently is 10 from base stability value, plus 40 from ideology, empire bonus, and plus 50 from stability from capital. As this is the capital city, it's always going to be just a little bit more stable. In terms of food, we are harvesting, we've got 0.8 that we need, and we are currently harvesting 6. That is directly from our capital here. We're getting 6 food, 3... well, actually, we're getting 6 science per researcher. Oh, sorry, these are the values that we're getting from the actual researchers. We're getting 12 food from the surrounding terrain. Not all of it is being farmed, but anywhere we've got buildings is actively being farmed. You'd think I hadn't played the tutorial, but I swear I have. We've got 24 industry, which is actually very, very nice. And if we have specific population in these slots, then they would be generating 6 each. Money... we're generating 3, that is purely from the capital. We're also generating 3 science, purely from the capital. We're also generating 3 influence. This is really important because it will spread our culture to surrounding territories, including our own outposts, because they won't necessarily start off in our sphere of influence. But as our influence spreads, this can also affect other cities, and that can give us very different diplomatic options later on, and diplomatic troubles sometimes. Likewise, later on we will be able to unlock certain other mechanics, such as religion, and it'll operate in much the same way. Currently we're operating a balanced policy, but I would really like to focus on city growth. So first and foremost, any spare population will go into jobs in the food industry, and then into industrial industry, and only then into money and science, and so on and so forth. You don't really need to focus on this too much. You can just set this once and just leave it, or you can get really, really fine-tuned. One other thing to note is we have a fortification value, and this will come into effect if we should be attacked. I'll cover that more should we be attacked. Right now we can make a scout, but understand that this requires population, and right now we don't have a lot. We've got 1 district at the moment, and that is the capital itself. We have got 1 territory, and this is the territory here, not the territory over there. This isn't adjoining us, so isn't part of this city's territory. This is just an empire outpost. There is a lot to digest initially, but once we get moving, then we won't have to spend as much time. But I do want to make sure that everyone is on board with things, and I'm not moving too quickly that you don't understand anything, because there's nothing worse than watching a Let's Play where you only understand half of the reason why the Let's Player is doing what they're doing. Now, there are a couple of different things that we can build. It's mentioned districts a few times, and these are actual buildings, the actual tiles. If I click this button here, you can see the tiles themselves. Districts exist on those tiles and will replace, in some cases, what's there, or will enhance them. For example, I can build a pyramid, and that will take up a tile. Infrastructure is different. This exists in the city, or in the city's entire territory, which, again, right now is just one tile, but later on I can bring outposts into the city's control, and then that will be a part of the city's territory. For example, this one. Pottery Workshop. The birthplace of ceramics offers new possibilities for every industry as wares can be more easily stored and transported. Having this will just give the main plaza +4 influence, which is very, very important. We'll almost be able to build it in just 2 turns. It will be 3 just because we're just slightly below. But influence, as you can probably already guess, is going to be important early on because it's how we build future outposts and how we absorb them as well. So we're actually going to go for that one straight away. It'll only take 3 turns. And it'll be a big help. But in a couple of turns then, we'll have a look at the other items. You can filter this if you want. You can also queue or buy out. You can buy out with money or you can buy out with population. Right now, Memphis doesn't really have the population to do that. So let's not faff around with that. We've literally got, well, we've got quote-unquote 0 population. We do have a population here. It's just we don't have spare population. But if you're buying things out, you can either do it with money by just paying people more to do some more work or working them until they die. It's an option. I'm not saying it's a good one. It's certainly not an ethical one, but it is an option there. We could buy this if we had the cash. We do not, but we are actually making 13 per turn, which is actually quite nice. So we're getting 10 money from, if we have a look, from cities or outposts, and +3 money from city. If we have a look over here, has Arneb even been set up yet? I don't know. This is our city. Arneb has been set up. If we have a look at you, are you actually earning money? Be interesting if you were. No, 1 more turn until that's set up, so I'm not really sure where that extra 10 gold is coming from, but I'm certainly not going to turn my nose up at it. Thank you very much, game. Right, now that we've got a city, though, comes the actual civilization building, so we can finally start progressing with Empire research. We're not currently researching anything. You can have a look at the tech tree, or you can just pick from the list of researches that are available to you. Now, bearing in mind that we have a unit, a unique unit. If we click up here, we can have a look at our empire, I believe. There we go. We're going to need to get to the wheel in ancient era before we can make this. Does it have any other requirements? It doesn't. I would assume horses, but it doesn't list it yet. It might not list it because I have no option to make it at all because I don't have the technology. But I'm going to assume that we're going to need horses for that one. If we have a look at the technology screen, though, we can see where the wheel is located. That is just down here. So we'd need domestication, then onto the wheel. Oh, actually, the wheel is also going to need carpentry. It makes a lot of sense. But that is basically where we're going to be wanting to get to first. Alternatively, we can pick up the artisans' quarters, which will allow us to harvest luxury resources. There's a lot of turns involved in getting to the wheel. 58 turns at our current research rate. It will get better. But I think maybe going for the luxury resources may be a stronger play initially, especially because we already have a neighbor who might want to buy those or a license to those luxury resources from us. The way that trading is done in Humankind is a bit different from other games in this genre, and I will cover it once that opens up, but it is a little bit more flexible. I will say that. There's far less of a need to kind of weigh up the costs, the pros and cons of letting someone have a resource that you might want yourself with this. But we're going to go ahead with the artisans' quarters. This will also give us the granary infrastructure building, which will give us more food per farmer and an extra farmer slot, so our population can work on food a little bit better. And growing our new town will be a big focus for us. But I am afraid that with our new city founded and our first research selected, not researched, but, it's on its way, that is where we're going to have to wrap things up for today. We've already run out of time. I really do hope you have enjoyed today's episode, though a bit information heavy because we're covering so many new mechanics that they're close enough to mechanics in similar games that it's very easy to assume how they work, and that can lead to some issues, as I have discovered in games in the the past. Nevertheless, I do hope that you found today's episode both entertaining and informative. But that is going to be it for us. So until next time, and as always, if you enjoyed what you saw and you want to see more, do consider leaving a like or a comment down below, and I shall see you in the next one. Take care, everyone.